I've had an interesting situation I'm trying to get to the bottom of. I wanted to recreate the folder, or not the folder, the virtual disk on my virtual NAS that stores only my music. That was separate from the rest of the virtual disk so that I could do the multi-write thing and pass it to my music streaming system. And I noticed issues, and I do think I have a solution. I haven't tested it yet. I'm going to do that right now. And I was doing this, I first shut down Subsonic. This was the name of my music streaming virtual machine. And when I added the hard drive it runs on, the one that it made when I made the virtual machine, it worked just fine. And you can see multi-writer right there. It had no issues. So let's go ahead and remove that. Oops. That was just for a test. This is the NAS server. But now here's the problem. I'll just hit OK first, just so that completes. You can see already there was my previous error that I was having. So I go in the NAS, edit settings. Now the old virtual disk that contains it is still in the same directory as the NAS stuff. So let me at least show you that. Existing hard disk, add. Inside my data store on this machine, we have the NAS server. And in here, you can see we have 3 virtual disks, right? The machine, hard drive itself that runs the OS and all that fun stuff. It's only about 13 gigs. This guy, which I should probably rename at some point, but it's a 6 terabyte. That's the actual NAS storage I'm using. And then we have what I renamed as Industrial Old. This was the original disk I was using. I just wanted to make it 200 gig, or maybe 250, but I'll just do 200 for the moment. Or maybe I'll do 250. It doesn't really make a difference, but I don't know how to resize virtual drives. From what I saw, it might be an involved process, and I thought, well, just make a new one and blah, blah, blah. So let's just remount the old one just real quick so I can show you how the problem I'm experiencing works. So I added the existing drive, and the only difference is that under sharing I was using multi-writer. And also, I think now I'm going to start using this independent persistent, because what it does is the changes, well, let me just read this out loud for you. So it's basically as real as a physical hard drive would be. So any change made to it makes the change there, and it would apply elsewhere. So it allows it to be its own entity, if that made any sense whatsoever. That was just my interpretation of it. So I hit OK, boom, boom, and we are good, completed. And now it has that industrial music hard drive, the 175 gigabytes that we've had. Now, let me repeat this process in a different way. Or rather, not repeat the process, but undo this process first. So let's go ahead and, assuming you can't just, maybe you can. Let's see. Say I told it 200. What happens then? The virtual disk requires a feature not supported by this program. Okay, so there probably is a way to just improve this or increase the size without having to make a new disk. That's fine. I don't want to mess with that anyways, because even if I fix that, it's not going to fix the issue I'm about to show you right now. So let's remove that drive, hit OK. So there is some way to just extend the disk. That's fine and probably the better solution. However, let's say I wanted to do the process over from scratch. I wanted to add a hard drive or virtual drive that I want to multi-write to. In other words, I want to be able to mount it into multiple virtual machines at the same time. Then what would I do normally? I would go new hard disk, I'd hit add, and let's just use a test size here. I'll just do 5 gigs. Alright, data store default, location with the virtual machine, disk provisioning, the provision, lazy zeros, that's fine. Since the storage thing specifically, I wouldn't want to thin provision it really. Sharing, multi-writer. And then everything else can stay the same other than maybe this can be here. It doesn't make a difference where I put that. It's going to cause me the same headache. So, I hit OK. Looks like it's doing something. Oh, nope. Incompatible device backing specified for device 0. And I tried Googling this. It didn't return jack shit for anything helpful whatsoever. It just doesn't work. How the hell did the other one work then? And I remembered originally that drive, I think, had been made because I had made a new virtual machine and used that. So I'm thinking, what if I repeat that process? Let's try doing this. I will go new virtual machine. I'll just literally make a new virtual machine. We're not even going to install an OS on it. We're just going to do this. Let's just say 250 gigs. So let it create this new virtual machine in the Necrosis data center, which might take a moment or two. Once this finishes, I will just try mounting the hard drive it made for that machine and see if it also gives me the same error or not. Now, just for the record, I did even restart each of the machines, virtual machines on there. I even restarted all of the entire server, the whole ESXi, everything. And it made no difference to that incompatible device error. Okay, it's done. So let us go into the NAS and edit the settings. And I tried the Flash player earlier, their Flash version, the partial features supported version. They're not kidding about partial features. Let's add an existing disk. Long story short, the Flash player for their vSphere web client is the only way to go, with the exception of the networking, which I have to do with the vSphere client for Windows. Okay, so there it is, a 250 gig. Will it work when I switch it to multi-writer? The machine's not running, so that's important. Fuck. That didn't work. So much for that idea. Alright, here's a new idea. Maybe it's a problem with making drives using the vSphere itself. Is that a possibility? That might be a possibility. Let's find out. Here's what I'm going to do. First off, I need to get rid of this new hard disk that I tried to make in there. Let's go ahead and completely, let's make sure I'm clicked on industrial here. If I deleted the NAS server, that'd be a big problem right now. And delete from disk. Yes. Now, before I do another test with what I was thinking, here's what I want to try. I'm pretty damn sure anyways that I made like at least this Windows 10 Enterprise machine with I think I made it in here, so let's see what happens. NAS server. I probably shouldn't have deleted the thing yet if that's going to prove otherwise from what I'm thinking, but we'll see. Let's select an existing disk, add it. I'm going to try multi-write booting up, adding rather one of these. Now the reason you see a little star there is because that's just how I chose to name them. Windows 10. In other words, when I want a new Windows Server virtual machine, I simply clone a copy of one of the Windows Server dudes over here. If I need a Windows 10, I copy that, and then I rename it and so on. So take this, which is only a 32 gig hard drive, multi-writer, hit OK. Let's see what happens. Okay, that gives me an error. And yet the subsonic one worked. I think the subsonic one was originally imported in here. I had made it in the past. I wonder why that's different. I don't really know. And I have tried stuff like messing with the controller, and that didn't seem to make a difference. Also incompatible. Alright, and then one more test. What happens if, say, I take the encoding server, which is running Windows 10, that was cloned from that? Will that make a difference? Alright, so it's consistently unsuccessful. That's about what I expected. So now we're going to try something a little bit different, see if it makes a difference. First, getting rid of that so I don't mess anything else up. Here, we're going to create a new virtual machine. In other words, I wanted to create the virtual machine on that same server, but through VMware Workstation. I'm not using any of those characters. What? And what about if I tried making it on this one? This is the second machine, the second server. Okay, so I guess because, well, no, this one doesn't have it either. Oh, interesting. All right, let's change the test parameters of what I'm trying then. Let's see what happens if I do it on the second server, the one that doesn't have the NAS. Let's say I took, because most of these are just backups and such. Let's say I took my network interface card teaming lab data store, where I'm doing some testing. I'm going to eventually make a video on some of the weird things I've been trying out with that, with pretty cool results, at least for me. Just take that guy, and what happens if I add a existing hard drive from that server, from that data store? Is it possible something's just broken or misconfigured on the other server? Okay, so that's also the exact same problem. Here's what we'll try next. In that case, let's do a new virtual machine on my computer and remove anything, just reduce anything, because we want technically just that hard drive. Where the hell is the hard drive? Did I remove it in accident? No, maybe it's just not there yet. Hard disk, boom. We'll take the converter. Click convert machine. Oops, powered off a workstation machine. And this will go into my infrastructure virtual machine. And hopefully that works. Okay, after a little bit of fumbling and bumbling about, I finally got the right login information. So here we are on the next screen. The destination virtual machine is, what is it called? Windows 7. There we go, okay. Send it to there. Think that looks probably good. And I made a small 5 gig just so I can test it so that this process doesn't take too long. Because moving things around within data storage seems to take forever with eSphere or vSphere or anything ESXi. I don't know what oh god damn it. Unable to find a system volume. I have another idea, but industrial folder. Well, there is that folder. This was created at 2:15 p.m. What the heck is going on with that timestamp? I changed 2 variables because mad science test. So let's see if this does it differently or not. Uh-oh. 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 Oh. Oh. I don't know enough about any of this shit. So let's just try adding that. See what happens. Because if it works, we're set. If it doesn't work, we are really, really fucked. Wish me luck. Fuck. I can't seem to make a new virtual drive that I can mount with multi-writer, but I can still mount the old one just fine. But at the moment, I'm absolutely puzzled and stumped. I really am. Because it just does not want to work for reasons outside of my knowledge. It just, the error doesn't give me information that when Googled corresponds to anything relevant. So if anybody else tries this and like what I did in the past and they get this problem, if I find a solution, I'll try and make a video or record it, but until then, we're fucked.